Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo declared that a need for more sanctions on Iran is necessary to deny its clerical regime the resources to create so much destruction across the Middle East. Ongoing efforts by Paris, Berlin, and London, together with Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini, to preserve the Iran nuclear deal has infuriated the United States, which on several occasions during the Warsaw Conference underscored its frustration with Europe's actions. President Vladimir Putin urged his Iranian and Turkish counterparts to work together to bring an end to the Syria conflict as the trilateral Russian-led summit in Sochi concludes. The International Ministerial Conference on Promoting a Future of Peace and Security in the Middle East came to an end last night after 2 days of discussions that primarily focused on the threats that emanate from the Islamic Republic of Iran. At a final press conference that sought to summarize discussions held by representatives of the 60 countries in attendance at the Warsaw Summit, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo declared that the need for more sanctions on Iran is necessary to deny its clerical regime the resources to create so much destruction across the Middle East.
We make no bones about it. We think that we need more sanctions, more pressure on Iran. We think that gives the Iranian people the opportunity to get what it is they so richly deserve. We think that denies the Iranian kleptocracy, the clerical leaders there, the wealth and resources they need to create so much destruction that we heard about from countries all across the world in these 2 days.
While some countries decided to send lower-level diplomats to the Warsaw Conference to indicate their dismay over the American policy directed at Iran, including France and Germany, Secretary Pompeo pointed to the fact that all countries in attendance voiced a unanimous position on the malign nature of the Islamic Republic.
There was not a defender of Iran in the room. No country spoke out and denied any of the basic facts that we all had laid out about Iran, the threat it poses, the nature of the regime. It was unanimous.
In the weeks leading up to the summit, EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini claimed that she had prior engagements on the dates of the Warsaw Conference, forcing her not to attend. That said, EU diplomats revealed to TV7 that Mogherini sought to avoid scrutiny over her persistence on preserving the 2015 nuclear agreement with Iran and had urged France, Britain, and Germany to either shun the conference as well or send representatives of lower rank. Meanwhile, the ongoing efforts by Paris, Berlin, and London, together with Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini to preserve the Iran nuclear deal, have infuriated the United States, which has on several occasions during the conference underscored its frustration with Europe's actions.
But sadly, some of our leading European partners have not been nearly as cooperative. In fact, they've led the effort to create mechanisms to break up our sanctions. They call this scheme a special purpose vehicle. We call it an effort to break American sanctions against Iran's murderous revolutionary regime. It's an ill-advised step that will only strengthen Iran, weaken the EU, and create still more distance between Europe and the United States. The time has come for our European partners to stand with us and the Iranian people, to stand with our allies and friends in the region. The time has come for our European partners to withdraw from the Iran nuclear deal and join with us as we bring the economic and diplomatic pressure necessary to give the Iranian people, the region, and the world the peace, security, and freedom they deserve.
Ahead of a meeting that was held this morning between U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and EU Foreign Policy Chief Federica Mogherini, the European Union's top diplomat refused to answer questions about the strong rebuke that was voiced by Vice President Pence. Instead, her office released a statement in which she emphasized the importance of cooperation between the EU and US and the work currently being done to achieve a peaceful and democratic transition in Venezuela the need to ensure a political transition in Syria, and support of peace in Afghanistan, among other global issues. Mogherini and Pompeo concluded their meeting, with sources referred to as cold and tense, by promising to maintain contact. Now, in other news, a crisis in the Polish-Israeli relations erupted yesterday after Prime Minister Netanyahu said that the Poles had collaborated with Nazi Germany during the Holocaust. The comment by the Israeli leader was made after a red line ceremony that was attended by Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki and US Vice President Mike Pence at the Warsaw Ghetto Heroes Monument. In response to Netanyahu's statement, his Polish counterpart Morawiecki has considered canceling his participation in the Visegrad Group's conference, which is scheduled to be held in Israel next week. Furthermore, Polish President Andrzej Duda wrote on his Twitter account that the conference in Israel should be cancelled and held in Poland instead. Israeli ambassador to Poland, Anna Azari, immediately sent a letter to the Polish Prime Minister's bureau and attempted to clarify the situation, in which she claimed that Prime Minister Netanyahu had not said that the Polish nation committed crimes against the Jews, but only that no one had been prosecuted under the Holocaust law for saying that Polish citizens had collaborated. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a meeting with US Vice President Mike Pence after the Red Lane ceremony, during which he reiterated the strong alliance between Washington and Jerusalem. At the end of their meeting, Netanyahu responded to a reporter's question about the Trump administration's so-called deal of the century.
I look forward to receiving the plan, and we'll look at it once it's presented. I have to say that I know that the Trump administration seeks to ensure the security of Israel for generations, and even though I always say, based on the experience that we endured here, that Israel must always be able to defend itself by itself against any threat, it's comforting to know that we have such a strong ally in the United States of America.
Now to the Russian resort city of Sochi, where President Vladimir Putin urged his Iranian and Turkish counterparts to work together to bring an end to the Syria conflict. During a trilateral summit that was held in the backdrop of the US-led Warsaw Conference, President Putin emphasized the importance of working together.
Мы много сделали вместе с вами, уважаемые друзья. Проделали огромный путь. Знаю, что работа, мы все знаем, что работа была непростой. И сейчас она продолжается. Еще не все задачи решены. Но если мы будем работать так же активно, так же слаженно и будем искать компромиссы, то, безусловно, нас ждет успех.
Prior to holding a trilateral meeting, Turkish President Erdogan held a bilateral meeting with President Putin, during which he urged Moscow to join forces with Washington, hinting to Turkey's discontent with the latest developments.
Ve malumunuz Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'nin çekilme kararı önümüzdeki en önemli sınamalardan biridir. Kararın nasıl uygulanacağına dair belirsizlikler devam ediyor. Bu yeni durum karşısında birlikte çalışmamız çok önemli.
In addition to cooperating on establishing a safe zone in northern Syria, where US-backed forces are currently operating, President Putin emphasized the importance of eliminating all terror groups that control the northwestern Idlib region. Moscow has complained that the Islamist militants who used to belong to the Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front militia are now in control of most of Idlib and demands military action to make certain that these groups are completely eradicated. Thank you for joining us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Yair Pinto. Have a good evening. Shabbat Shalom. We will see you again on Monday at the same time.